Welcome to the Vegas Insider channel here on YouTube. Action. Kevin Rogers with you here on this Thursday, May 27th, and a lot to catch you up on from last night and looking ahead to today and tonight. A lot of day games in Major League Baseball, and then in the NBA, we have a few more games to look at, including Bucks Heat, Suns Lakers, Blazers Nuggets. So you have a few games coming up, but tonight in the NBA we're going to break down. But first, let us remind you about the Daily Insider contest, which you can enter for free. Now, it's very simple. In the comments section below this video, you put up your Vegas Insider user ID as well as your best play for the day or night. And it's got to be before the game. It can't be a live bet. It's got to be before the game. It could be baseball, it could be hockey, it could be NBA, it doesn't matter. And put your best play underneath, and you will be eligible to be in the drawing to win a week's worth of handicapper selections from one handicapper at VegasInsider.com, the handicapper of your choosing. That's a $100 value, and you can get that for free. All you have to do is put below in the comments section your Vegas Insider user ID as well as your best bet. If you don't have a Vegas Insider user ID, that's fine, because I'll tell you right now how to do it. You go to the homepage, and the big yellow register button in the upper right-hand corner, click on that. Free membership, register now. Click that, user ID, password, you create that, your email address, we get in contact with you, your name and phone number, and you will be all set to go, and it's free. So if you lose, it's no big deal, and if you win, you have a chance at, or if you win your pick, you have a chance at winning the prize for a week's worth of handicapper selections. We need your email address so we can get in touch with you. So that's the reasoning behind that. And if you lose your pick, then you don't win. Simple as that. You got to win. All right, so let's begin with. Let's start with Major League Baseball simply because we have a lot of afternoon games. We want to get to that before some of these games start. And let's take a look. And we're going to jump around a little bit because there are several games coming up in just a few minutes that were rescheduled from last night. All right, Marlins and Phillies, they hook up from, well, it used to be called Marlins Park, Lone Depot Park, or whatever it's called right now, but it's still Marlins Park to me. Sorry, sponsor. But the Marlins beat the Phillies last night 4-2, and tonight it is, or today I should say, or in a few minutes, it's Pablo Lopez and Spencer Howard on the mound. And Pablo Lopez, he has been dynamic at home, even though his record's just 1-3, his ERA is at 2.73. He has a .61 ERA at home, but yet he's 0-2 so far in the season at home. He picked up a no decision his last time out against the Mets in a 3-1 win. That was a walk-off homer. He threw 7 scoreless innings and struck out 8, so Lopez pitched very well there. And we'll see what the Phillies can do here in this series finale. And they have not been great in series finales so far this season. And still playing without Bryce Harper. The Marlins right now 24-25 on the season. The Cubs and the Pirates, they begin in just a little bit at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. And the Cubs going for the 3-game sweep of the Pirates. It feels like the Cubs have played the Pirates a ton this year. So Chicago's going to run out of games against Pittsburgh before it's all said and done. And the Cubs still lead the season series, but a 4-3 win on Tuesday, a 4-1 win last night, and getting a couple good starting outings from Trevor Williams, who finally beat his former team, and Jake Arrieta. Today it's Kyle Hendricks, and for Kyle Hendricks, he's on his way back. He was not pitching well to begin the season. Now, in fact, he has not beaten the Pirates yet. He's 0-2 against them, and he's given up 9 runs in 8 innings of work against the Pirates. So just keep that in mind going into this game. And look, when Hendricks is coming off back-to-back wins, so he's kind of turning it around against the Tigers and against the Cardinals. So that's good news. But against Pittsburgh, he's had a lot of problems. And for Tyler Anderson, the last time he took the mound, he was racked for 9 runs in a 20-1 loss to Atlanta. So he'll try to turn it around today. He did beat the Cubs last time he faced them at Wrigley as a $1.50 underdog back on May 9th. Tossed 8 innings in that one. So keep an eye on that because he had lost his previous 2 starts to the Cubs. So he finally beat them the last time he faced them. All right, a few minutes away from the start of, let's scroll down, Rockies-Mets Game 1 at Citi Field. German Marquez and Marcus Stroman on the mound. And that was the game that was scheduled for last night, rained out. So the Game 1 starter, or last night's starters go in Game 1. And that total opened at 5. And right now, the total, let's see if it went up to 5.5. It's still at 5 in a lot of spots, and the over shaded to minus 120. You're only playing a 7-inning game, but we saw with the Cubs and Dodgers a little while ago a 5 total, and the Cubs got like 4 runs in the first inning. So you were almost there, and I do like the over in this one because you had 2 low-scoring games the first 2 of this series, in which Colorado won 3-2. The Mets won 3-1 behind Jacob deGrom, both 6.5 totals. Now you're down to 5. Granted, you're losing 2 innings in the game, but you get to 2-2, and at worst you push. So you just got to hope that these teams can scratch together, literally scratch together a few runs, and you should be in the clear. I mean, good luck if you're going under 5. I know you can say, well, good luck going over 5. Good luck going under 5 because you feel like you get 2 runs early and you're really in trouble. So both those pitchers, Stroman and Marquez, pitched well against the opponent earlier in the season when they faced off at Coors Field. Marquez beat the Mets, and coincidentally, that was a 7-inning game. He went all 7 innings. Stroman went 8 innings in a 2-1 win over the Rockies. So both of them pitched well. Maybe it reverts back. Maybe they don't pitch as well. And Marquez, who has had more downs than ups this year, so just ask the Mets to score about 3 runs in this game, and maybe got a shot here. All right, coming up at 1 o'clock. Well, let's finish off the National League, and then we'll go back. I just want to get that Mets-Rockies first game in before it got started. San Diego and Milwaukee, they face off at American Family Field. The Brewers won the first game of the series. Padres won the next 2. And San Diego got really good pitching performances in the last 2 games to win. And Christian Yelich not in the lineup for the Brewers. Want to put that one out there in case he's in a fantasy lineup or just if you want Milwaukee. I still like the Brewers in this game, even without Yelich. Adrian Hauser goes. Now, the Brewers picked up just 2 runs the last 2 games against Joe Musgrove and Chris Paddock. And Musgrove barely finished 5 innings, but he pitched really well in that second game. And now the Padres favored. Adrian Hauser, the last 2 starts he was favored against Cincinnati and Atlanta and lost both of them. Now he's back to a home dog. So keep an eye on that one. And Ryan Weathers goes for the Padres. His last 2 starts, 4 innings apiece. So he's not going to go long in these games. Just put that one out there, that the Padres will have to use their bullpen in this one, most likely. I'd be surprised if Weathers went 6 innings in this game today. But San Diego is 5-1 in their 6 road series finales this season, just something to also keep an eye on. And Milwaukee, we'll see if they could end this series with a win. They go to Washington coming up this weekend. Later tonight, St. Louis and Arizona. This line flipped. The Cardinals were favored. Arizona's lost 10 straight, and now the Diamondbacks are the favorite right now. And Arizona was up 4-0 last night at San Francisco and totally blew that game against the Giants. So now let's see what they do against the Cardinals, who picked up a really good win at Chicago to avoid a 3-game sweep against the White Sox. They were nearly $2 underdogs. But the Diamondbacks, though, up 4-0 through 2. San Francisco gets 2 in the 6th, 3 in the 8th. And they beat Arizona, who had 13 hits in the game. So just that's just a real head scratcher for the Diamondbacks, who have lost 10 straight games. And their home record, I mean, to be fair to Arizona, they played 10 more road games than home games this season. They fall to 9-11 at home. So Carlos Martinez goes for the Cardinals, and he lost his last start to the Cubs, and that was his first start after coming off the IL. He had an ankle injury. For Arizona, it's Matt Peacock on the mound. And Peacock, last time he pitched, he was competitive against the Dodgers. Went 5 innings, allowed 4 hits and a run in a 4-2 defeat to L.A. He's winless in his last 2 starts, or in his only 2 starts. So both games went under. Now we'll see what he does here against St. Louis. And the Cardinals have struggled on the road. Simple as that. They lost the first 2 against the White Sox. They got swept at San Diego before that. And granted, you're going from Padres and White Sox, teams that could go far in the playoffs, to now the Diamondbacks, who have lost 10 straight. So just keep that in mind. But that line flipped. So St. Louis, now the underdog. San Francisco and L.A., we don't know who the Dodgers starting pitcher is. Alex Wood's going for the Giants. And San Francisco got swept by L.A. last weekend at home, so keep an eye on that one. And the Dodgers, they return home after they split a pair of games with the Astros in Houston. And again, another road loss for Trevor Bauer. I mean, what is it, 1 in 6 the last 7 starts he's made on the road. So Bauer just had a lot of bad luck there. But the Giants won't see him this weekend, so I guess that's good news since he shut him down last weekend. In the American League, coming up at 110, it's Cleveland and Detroit. Shane Bieber on the mound against Matthew Boyd. And, I mean, Boyd's Detroit's best pitcher. Bieber's a Cy Young winner. So, I mean, he's not Cleveland's best pitcher only. He was the best pitcher in the American League last year. Bieber, though, I will say this about him. The Indians are 4-1 his last 5 starts, but just listen to this for a second. This is what he's allowed recently. 3 runs to Minnesota, 3 runs to Seattle, 2 to Chicago, to the Cubs, 4 to Kansas City, 3 to the White Sox. So he's not putting up really 8-inning, 1 run, 7-inning, 1 run, 7-inning, 2-run stat lines for the most part. And he hasn't pitched 7 innings since April 24th in a 2-1 loss to the Yankees. I was opposite Garrett Cole just in a pitcher's duel. And Bieber gave up 2 solo homers in that game. And obviously the Indians' offense did nothing against Garrett Cole. But Bieber is not... See, this is the thing. Even the strikeout numbers have gone down. These are the first 6 starts for Shane Bieber. 12, 12, 11, 13, 9, 11, and then 9. But his last 3 starts with strikeouts, 8, 7, 6. So the strikeout numbers are going down gradually. The innings pitched are going down a little bit. He's giving up runs, so don't be too quick to just blindly back Shane Bieber, even against Detroit. Now, he did lose to Detroit back in the opener, 3-2, and the Indians have full ownership of the Tigers over the years. So, again, not making a case for Detroit, just letting you know that Bieber is not, he's still an ace, he's still a great pitcher, but the numbers are not as dominant as you would think, just looking at him and saying, oh, well, he's a Cy Young winner, so he's going to completely shut everyone down. Not necessarily the case. And Detroit won last night, so a little bit of momentum for the Tigers, a little bit, not a lot. Kansas City and Tampa Bay, a 3-10 start from the Trop. I'm sure the fans are going to race to the stadium for this game. Brady Singer goes for the Royals. And just a note on Brady Singer, in case you think this is important or not, just letting you know. Former University of Florida Gator. He's from the Central Florida area. So this will be his first time pitching in Tampa Bay and St. Pete. So I'm sure he'll have some family and friends there. Just letting you know, considering he's coming off of a win his last start against the Tigers. He did not face Tampa Bay when they faced off earlier this season at Kauffman Stadium. And Singer has been a little up and down. His last 2 starts, though, he has pitched better. But at least now, probably some family and friends. We'll see how he does today as an underdog. Shane McClanahan goes for Tampa Bay. And McClanahan, he has been a pretty good player or at least to back when the Rays have him on the mound, because Tampa Bay has won his last 4 starts. and only one of them, though, came at home. 3 others came on the road. He'll give you 4 or 5 innings. And, both of them are Florida natives, both McClanahan and Brady Singer. McClanahan went to USF, University of South Florida, and Singer went to University of Florida. So those are the afternoon games. And, one other, though, at 4:05, the first game of this doubleheader between the Blue Jays and Yankees. They were rained out yesterday, and this was the pitching matchup, so they're going to get started. It is Alek Manoah, and Domingo Germán on the mound. And Manoah, this will be his first major league start. So your first major league start at Yankee Stadium against Domingo Germán, who this line dropped. I mean, they're only laying 125 or so, 130-ish in this game. And the Yankees are 6-0 in Germán's last 6 starts. And yet, and Germán did lose to Toronto earlier this season at home, laying 175. So the Yankees and the Blue Jays. Then the second game is Robbie Ray and Jordan Montgomery going. And Montgomery, he is a short favorite here. The Yankees are 3-1 in his last 4 starts, struck out 11 as he beat the Whites. Well, he got no decision against the White Sox, 2-1 win. The Yankees won that in walk-off fashion. But he has best start of the season, 7 innings, 11 strikeouts. So we'll see what he does now against Robbie Ray. And Ray is someone who has actually put together a pretty nice season in Toronto. I think he needed a change from Arizona because he was a disaster last year. He was good several years ago for the Diamondbacks, but kind of fell off, and now he's back. And Toronto 4-1 his last 5 starts. He was outdueled by Garrett Cole earlier this season, but he has big strikeout numbers, just about how long he can go. But 7 innings his last start, and it was a 3-1 loss to the Rays. So Rays actually pitched better of late. And remember, Blue Jays, Yankees, both those games are 7-inning games. Now back to the National League. Oh, because this game dropped down. That's why I couldn't find it. Cincinnati and Washington. And they have to continue the first game from last night. Got stopped, I think, around the 4th inning or so, and the Nationals were winning. So the second game, whenever it gets started, is going to be a 7-inning game. And it's going to be Steven Strasburg and Sonny Gray on the mound. And for Gray, last time he pitched was against Milwaukee this past weekend, and he's winless his last 2 starts. And Sonny Gray, he's still looking for his first win on the season. He didn't take them out until mid-April. He hasn't thrown over 96 pitches in any start this season, and he lost to Milwaukee and San Francisco his last 2 starts. He's given up 3 earned runs each time. I mean, he hasn't been bad, but his best start came against the White Sox back on May 5th. And again, he's looking for his first win on the campaign. And Gray faces off with Steven Strasburg. And Strasburg was very good in his first start back from the IL. 5 1/3, scoreless innings, 1 hit, and a 4-2 win over Baltimore. Now, granted, I mean, Baltimore's not very good. But before that, Strasburg, he was winless in his previous 2 starts. But in 2 of 3 starts for Steven Strasburg this year, he's given up 1 hit. So he's had 1 terrible start at St. Louis. But before that, he lost to Atlanta 2-0. And he threw 6 scoreless innings. In the other games in the American League tonight, Baltimore and the White Sox, the Orioles have been a complete disaster as Baltimore, they just got swept by Minnesota. And they are completely, the wheels have fallen off the wagon with the Orioles. When you look back at what they've done, they have lost 9 consecutive games. They were swept at Minnesota, swept at Washington, swept by Tampa Bay. So the Orioles have not won a game since beating the Yankees back on May 16th. And they had a nice little overrun. They're still 8-2 to the over in their last 10, the Orioles. But they just can't figure anything out right now. And the White Sox coming off a loss as a heavy favorite yesterday to the Cardinals. and they were shut out in that game, 4-0. And tonight for Chicago, Dylan Cease goes, and Cease, who has actually been all right. I mean, it's not a bad number 5 if you're, a lot of teams don't have 3s and 4s, and he's their number 5. And for Dylan Cease, in his last 6 starts, the White Sox are 5-1. The only loss came to Garrett Cole and the Yankees, so that's not too bad. So now you're a heavy favorite against the Orioles tonight. And in Cease's last 4 home starts, they've won all 4 of them. I just don't have faith in taking Baltimore. Even though I've said in the past on the show that I like taking teams as heavy underdogs in series openers after they just got swept, because the idea is, well, everyone's so down on them, but I don't want to trust them. I'm not making a case for Chicago because I'm not laying $2. Only $2.25 with the number 5 pitcher. That's not happening. But I just don't have faith with the Orioles right now. They're just not playing well. They're back to what we thought they were. Angels and A's. Shohei Ohtani on the mound for L.A. Chris Bassett goes for Oakland. Kind of curious here. I mean, you see Ohtani as this kind of underdog. Kind of thinking that maybe Oakland is the play. And Ohtani, who last pitched back on May 19th, he picked up a no decision against Cleveland. And Ohtani still got good numbers, 2.37 ERA on the season. And he's facing off with Chris Bassett, who had a bit of a slow start to 2021, but he has pitched. He's pitched better. Oakland is 7-1 his last 8 starts, and Bassett just beat the Angels his last time out, 8 strikeouts and 7 2/3 innings. But he's making his first home start since May 5th, and he lost that game to Toronto. So he hasn't had as much luck at home necessarily. He's been a better road pitcher than home pitcher, Chris Bassett, so far in the campaign. And the final game in baseball tonight, Texas and Seattle. And the Rangers have lost 8 straight road games. They were actually all right on the road. They were, 9-8 on the road. Now they're 9-16 away from Arlington. And they just lost 2 to the Angels. And they go with Colby Allard tonight. He goes opposite Chris Flexen. And Flexen, who had pitched well earlier in the season, but just got racked by San Diego's last time out, 8 earned runs in less than 2 innings and a 16-1 loss to San Diego. But Flexen did beat the Rangers on the road last time he faced them on May 7th, 5-4, 6 1/3. Did give up 10 hits and 4 earned runs. I mean, let's not make Chris Flexen out to be Randy Johnson necessarily for the Mariners, but Seattle has responded well with him on the mound, and they've won 3 times with him starting at home, but this is the first time he'll be a favorite. He's a slight favorite, but first time that he's been favored so far at home. Now, let us look at the NBA. And from last night, let's first start with last night's games inside of the association. Because you got 3 big games tonight. I mean, all these games are big, obviously, it's the playoffs. Philadelphia knocks off Washington 120-95. I mentioned the under on this yesterday. A little sketchy through the first half, but then you got to the second half, a 46 spot in the third, 41 in the fourth. Russell Westbrook left with an injury. We'll see what his status is for Game 3 coming up in D.C., but Philadelphia just overwhelmed Washington. And Washington entered that game last night 0-6 straight up as a road underdog. Its last 6 games in that situation, but they were 5-1 against the spread. So they're losing games close, but you can't just expect Washington to lose by less than 8. You can't do it. Eventually they're going to get blown out because they're not winning these games. Last road game they won came at Utah. Coincidentally, about I've lost track of time, in April, or, it was about 10.5, 11-point underdogs, and that was the last time they won a road game. So everyone's looking at Wash like, yeah, they've covered a lot of games. They're not winning these games. So Philadelphia got off to a nice lead, and they cruised. They're up 2-0 over Washington. Now, I said yesterday on this live stream, I really liked Atlanta. I did like Atlanta. I liked them when they got to halftime. They were up 57-44, 13-point lead over the Knicks at the Garden. And Atlanta was on their way to being up 2-0. But yet Atlanta, for some reason, something happened after halftime. 35 points in the second half for the Hawks, which is completely unacceptable. And the Knicks came back and they won. They won by 9. That was a really good job by them. Even though Julius Randle has really done nothing so far, Derrick Rose is like his MVP self. And he played very well for New York. And what can you say? You score 35 points and a half. You don't deserve to beat anybody. And that's the case with the Hawks. So both games have gone under in that series. And the Knicks get the win, they get the cover, and now they go to Atlanta tied at 1. Donovan Mitchell came back for Utah last night. He played well. John Moran had 47 for the Grizzlies, but that wasn't enough. As you see, Utah held on for the cover, 141-129. The over was never in doubt, 219 and a half. And you see the first half, and you see every quarter just completely obliterated that. You needed 55 a quarter to hit 220, and you got 63, 65, 72, and 70. So I would say that you were in good shape if you had the over in that game. So Utah now goes to Memphis, tied up at 1-1. Now looking at tonight, and you have 3 series tonight, 2 of them tied at a game apiece, 1-2-0. All right, Milwaukee and Miami is the first game. And you would expect the Miami Heat going home. They should have nearly a full house there at the American Airlines Arena. Milwaukee edged Miami in Game 1 in overtime. Chris Middleton hit that shot at the end. Then the Heat were terrible in Game 2. So you'd expect the Heat in Game 3 to play better, just because. And Miami is a 1.5-point underdog against Milwaukee. First time the Bucks are playing the Heat in Miami since way back early in the season, and they played a back-to-back, I guess 2 games in 3 nights, and Milwaukee blew out Miami in the first game, and the Heat beat the Bucks in the second game. So it's been a while since the Bucks have been down to Miami, and not to South Beach, to downtown. That's where it's located. But last game went over. Now you wonder if this one goes over at 225. It's very simple for the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler's been terrible. Bam Adebayo's been terrible. Those guys need to step up. And the Milwaukee Bucks probably won't get 11 threes combined from Bryn Forbes and Pat Connaughton again tonight or ever. But when Giannis Antetokounmpo does his thing, Chris Middleton can be okay when those guys are contributing, when those guys are hitting 11 threes combined. But the Heat can't win when Jimmy Butler's not scoring, Bam Adebayo's not scoring, but yet Goran Dragic and Duncan Robinson are carrying you. That's not going to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Tyler Hero needs to step up. If you get good games from all these players, I don't want to say no matter what Milwaukee does, it doesn't matter, but you get games from those guys, he'd have a shot in the series. You just can't have Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo combined for like 30-something points. That's not going to cut it. So that's the first game tonight. Then you have Suns-Lakers at 10:05 from Staples Center. I saw, well, it's not really a stat, it's more of a factoid, that the Lakers are hosting their first playoff game since 2013. Last year was the bubble, and the year before LeBron got hurt, so they didn't make the playoffs, but that's crazy. So LeBron's playing his first playoff game as a Laker, first home playoff game as a Laker, coming up tonight, which is pretty insane to think in his 3rd season with them. And I mean, obviously nobody saw the pandemic coming. But the Lakers, though, up or tied at 1. They won Game 2 against the Suns. Phoenix won Game 1. Lakers won Game 2. Lakers were up that whole game, basically. And that game barely went over. He had 17 points in the final minute. Devin Booker had like 8 points in the final minute, and that helped his player prop, his points on his player prop go over because he had the 8 free throws in the final minute. Anthony Davis played well, so that's a positive for LA. And we don't really know how healthy Chris Paul is moving forward. But look at that. The Lakers, a 7 seed, and we know why they're a 7. But laying 7 to Phoenix, that just seems like a lot of points tonight, considering they were laying 2 on the road. And we don't really know what the home court advantage really means anymore with these smaller crowds. But LA laying 7 against Phoenix. The Suns have been a good road underdog this year, so take that for what it's worth. Denver and Portland, that's the final game of the night. That's the NBA TV game. And the Blazers laying 4 to the Nuggets. I do like the under in this game. You've had 2 overs so far. And when you look back at game 2, 3 of the 4 quarters stayed under the pace. The second quarter was 42-36 Denver. And, Damian Lillard, sorry about that. Damian Lillard, he scored 22 points in the final 6 minutes. Lillard hit 6 threes, hit 4 free throws. Hit 6 threes in the final 6 minutes of that quarter. That ain't happening again. Sorry. Now, does that mean Damian Lillard's not going to have a good game? No, it just means Damian Lillard's not going to have that kind of stretch again, most likely. I do side towards Denver just because you do have the MVP of the league on their team. It will be the MVP in Nikola Jokic. And there's still some good pieces with Jamal Murray out, with Michael Porter Jr., depends on what you can get from Aaron Gordon. But Portland, the big issue I have with them is obviously Lillard's a star. CJ McCollum's very good. Carmelo's very up and down. He was good in game 1, wasn't good in game 2. Norman Powell's a decent scorer. Really got from Toronto for Gary Trent. But I can see this game being like around the 110, 106 range, something like that. And this game's staying under the total. We've seen 2 overs in this series. I think it reverts back to the under. And 15-4, by the way. 15-4 to the under, the Denver Nuggets in their last 19 road games. So putting that one out there. Now, that's the schedule for tonight. And then you have 3 games tomorrow, which we'll go over tomorrow. Knicks and Hawks. See it. Atlanta's laying 4. Brooklyn laying 7 at Boston. And the Clippers laying 2 to the Mavericks. Maybe I'm crazy, but I got to think the Clippers bounce back in that game. I really do. That you can't stick a fork in L.A. just yet. Dallas has shot lights out. I think it's 35 of 70 from three-point range, something crazy like that. That L.A. is a shorter favorite here on the road. I mean, you got to get this one. You're down 3-0. It was nice knowing you, Clippers. So Doc Rivers goes to Philadelphia. He's got a really good shot at maybe going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And the LA Clippers could be bounced in the first round, which would be one of the funniest things ever if that was the case. Now let's look at NHL really quick. The games are starting to wind down as far as how many per day. And first, the Islanders beat the Penguins 5-3. Game easily goes over 5.5. It went over 5.5 in the second period. No goals in the third. The Islanders now get the Bruins in the next round. So Pittsburgh, it was nice knowing you. And Sid the Kid, Penguins gone. The Florida Panthers, they put up a fight. They had Spencer Knight in the nets, the 20-year-old rookie, and he played as well as he could, but you can't win a lot of hockey games if you don't score goals. Simple as that. And Andrei Vasilevsky was like a brick wall for Tampa Bay last night. He was a bit up and down during the series, but he saved his best game for last. And Tampa Bay wins 4-0. They got an empty net goal late, and they advance to face the winner of Carolina and Nashville. So the defending Stanley Cup champions are still alive, and the Panthers are out in 6 games. The Minnesota Wild, how about that? They are not dead yet, as they finally beat Vegas at home. They had lost games 3 and 4 at home to the Golden Knights. They win last night 3-0. We know the Wild don't put a lot of shots on net, but now they have Game 7 back in Vegas coming up on Friday night. Winner goes to face the Colorado Avalanche, and loser goes home. And hey, Vegas, since going to the Stanley Cup a few years ago in their expansion season, the last few years, it's not been very good in the playoffs. Not at all. So it would be nice for them to win to avoid a major meltdown here. And we've seen the meltdowns in the past by them. So this would be a good time to step up. All right, let's take a look at tonight's games. Only 2 in the NHL. And you have Montreal and Toronto. The Maple Leafs should close out that series. They're laying a heavy price there against the Canadiens. Montreal won game 1. Toronto's won the last 3. Carolina and Nashville, very interesting to see how this one unfolds since the last 3 games have gone to overtime between these two teams. And Carolina was up 2-0. They were in cruise control. Nashville won back-to-back games in double overtime. Carolina won game 5 in overtime. So now the Hurricanes going on the road and see if they can avoid a game 7 against Nashville. And then you have Minnesota Vegas coming up tomorrow at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And look, Golden Knights are a heavy favorite, but we've seen stranger things. You wonder if you lean to the under. We've seen several unders so far in that series between Minnesota and Vegas. Just to remind you that we have our picks for purchase for the NBA, for Major League Baseball, for the NHL. And if you go to the Buy Picks page, if you see NBA, Buy Picks, NHL, Buy Picks, MLB, Buy Picks, you can find our experts there. And the packages for purchase, $29.95 for each handicapper, and you get however many plays they have there in their selections for the day. Also, the guarantee $39.95. Pay after it wins. It's only one pick, but it's the best pick of the day. And if it wins, it's $39.95, but you won. If it's a loser, you pay nothing. So simple as that. And we have that for NBA, Major League Baseball, and the NHL. So check that out on our Buy Picks page. And again, I want to remind you about the Daily Insider Contest, that if you put your pick in the comment section below, all right, you put your pick for the day, your best bet, along with your user ID, you will be in the drawing for a week's worth of handicapper selections. Simple as that. You put your user ID and your best bet for the day. It's got to be a game that has not started yet. You cannot do a live bet. That will not work for us. You have to do it before the game. So that is what we have. And if you win, you'll win a week's worth of handicapper selections from one handicapper. And our marketing team will get in touch with you. If you are the winner, you have to win your play also. You can't lose your play. You win your play, you'll be in the drawing. And our marketing team will get in touch with you. And then you can tell them who you prefer. And again, if you do not currently have a Vegas Insider user ID, go up to the big yellow register button, click on that, register now, free membership. You fill out the information here, it's free. Email address, name, phone number, birthday, so we know you're legal, and of legal age, I should say, and your user ID and password. That's how we can get in contact with you. So, with all that being said, we appreciate you tuning in to the latest edition of the Daily Insider, and we'll be back tomorrow. We won't be with you Monday because of Memorial Day, but we'll be back with you tomorrow as we'll look back at, obviously, tonight's action and look ahead to the weekend. I am Kevin Rogers. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, best of luck with your bets.